Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. I'm glad you did it, OP. People need to be called out when they lie, especially when it's on social media. Karens like this need to be stood up to and put in their place. Here we go. Karen's rant on town's Facebook backfires. I work at a rather famous home supply and maintenance store. I won't say the name, just in case, but to set the scene, a month or so ago, Karen and her husband came in to buy an appliance. They happened to come in on a very busy day, and we only had 2 people in appliances, one of whom was going on her lunch. Well, apparently Karen wasn't happy that a couple of men who'd already been waiting were served ahead of her and pitched a tantrum, even going so far as to go up to the girl leaving for her lunch, who was no longer in uniform, was talking to another employee, and berating her for ignoring her. The girl told her multiple times she wasn't on the clock, and Karen informed her it didn't matter, she would help her right then. The girl told her she could wait or take her business elsewhere and went about her business. This apparently pissed off Karen and her husband as he proceeded to call customer service. I happened to be covering the desk, and began yelling at me that he was a GD man and that if we were going to serve other men before his wife, we would effing serve him first. I laughed at him, said that's not how things work, and hung up the phone. We don't take abuse at my store. I definitely refuse to, and the managers generally support us in that. The funny part? Our town has a local Facebook page where you can post reviews and events, and Karen decided to make a massive post about what happened. Only she actually didn't. She twisted it so that it seemed that she'd been purposely ignored. She hadn't. She just didn't want to wait in line. Denied service. She wasn't. She'd confronted and cursed out a teenage employee who was off the clock, and she and her husband had been verbally abused by every employee in the store. They'd spoken to the girl and to me, and neither of us had abused them. We were both abused. Of course, at first, she got sympathy from a lot of women of the same mentality, a lot of "no one wants to work anymore" comments, but one of our cashiers happened to be told about it and showed me. I'm petty, I'll admit it beforehand, but I made a fake Facebook account, I don't do social media much beyond lurking on Reddit, and joined the town's page. Needless to say, I first commented in explicit detail everything that actually happened, including direct quotes from the other girl. Then, to sink the F you Karen knife a little deeper, I copied my post and replied to every comment on her post. This isn't actually what happened. What happened was, insert comment here. Within moments, the entire town turned on her, hundreds of comments calling her a liar and a horrid person. The next morning, the post was gone, and she's never returned to our store. Was I a bit of a Karen myself? Maybe. But when it comes to my fellow employees, I tend to fight petty fire with petty fire. And thanks to this situation and several more since then, I've become the go-to for dealing with Karens and rude customers when my coworkers can't get a hold of a manager. No way this can end badly, right? And our second story. I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Backstory is that I work for a company that sells luxury-type items, meaning they're things that are nice to have and they make good gifts, but by no means are they anything that anyone needs. About a month ago, I had a customer come in and tell me she was looking for a gift for a very good friend of hers. I asked some questions and show her a few things, and she ends up finding something she likes. I bring her up to the register, and she says to me, "Okay, so I lost my job because of COVID, so I really can't afford this right now. Is there any way I can take this and just give you a deposit?" I tell her no. If she wants to leave with the item, we require payment in full. But I can show her some similar things at a lower price point. She says, no, this is what I want, but I really can't justify this cost. Is there anything you can do? I tell her that we'll actually be having a sale that includes that item coming up over the weekend if she'd like to come back and purchase the item then. She asks if I can hold the item for her, and I say I'm not allowed to hold things for that long, but if she wants to leave her name and number, if there are some left by the time the sale starts, I can put one on hold for her then. She gives me her info and thanks me and leaves. Cut to the weekend. Sale's on, we have some of the items she wanted left, so I set one aside and give her a call. I get her voicemail, so I leave a message telling her I've put the item aside for her but can only hold it for 24 hours. I don't hear anything back from her. She doesn't come in to pick up the item, and the sale ends a few days later. Fast forward another week, it's the Friday, the week after the sale, and this customer comes in. She tracks me down and apologizes profusely for not responding to my voicemail, tells me she had just started a new job and didn't have any money during the sale, but today's her payday, so she's finally able to buy the item. I say, great, let me go grab one for you, and she stops me. Asks if she's going to get the sale price for the item. I tell her no, unfortunately not, as the sale is ended. She tells me she only has enough money to be able to afford the item at the sale price. I say I'm sorry, but my system won't let me manually enter a discount that large, and since the sale's been over for a while, a manager won't be willing to override that for me. She says she understands and asks me again if I can take a deposit and let her take an item, and I again tell her that's not possible. She asks if there's another sale coming up soon, and I tell her that I don't have that information because they don't usually let us know about the sales until the week before they start, presumably to keep associates from telling customers to wait for upcoming sales. She asks if I can give her a call when I know when the next sale is, and I say sure. Couple days later, we get word of another sale, basically the same one that just happened, during the upcoming weekend. I give the customer a call to tell her, and she says, "Oh, I don't have the money for it anymore. I had to pay bills and stuff. I get paid every 2 weeks. Will there be another sale next weekend?" I tell her I don't know, and she says, "Okay, well, my paycheck is every 2 weeks, so I got paid last week, and I'll get paid next week, and so on like that. Can you give me a call when you know about a sale that falls on a week I get paid?" I say sure, just so I can get off the phone, even though I have no intention of keeping track of this woman's pay schedule to inform her of sales. Cut to this past Friday. Customer calls in to speak with me, but it's my day off, so she ends up speaking to one of my managers. According to him, she asked to speak with me, and he said I wasn't available. It's policy to not say things like she's off today for safety reasons, so customers can't keep track of our work schedules. She apparently gave him the same sob story about losing her job due to COVID and wanted to know if she could leave a deposit for the item and take it to gift to her friend. He says no, and she asks if she can get the item for the sale price it was during the sale last weekend. He again tells her no, and she says he's very rude and demands to speak with me instead. He asks her why she's so desperate to talk with me, and she says it's because I'm actually helpful and empathetic to her situation, unlike he is. He asked her if she's looking to get me fired by guilting me into doing things against company policy, and she apparently gasped and said, "How dare you accuse me of such a thing? I won't be dealing with you anymore. Please have OP call me back when she's available." Manager gave me the message and the lowdown on what happened when I worked next, but added "I suggest you not call her back. She's a scam artist and a time waster and is not worth your generosity. If she calls her come in, I need you to call me over to deal with her." I haven't called her back and have yet to hear from her. Here's crossing fingers that my manager arguing with her scared her off. And our third story. Did the fusion already happen? So, this is my first ever Reddit post, so please bear with me on this one. I was about 12 or 13 years old when I got a new mobile phone with a brand new number. I was very excited about the phone, but less excited about the number, as it later turned out. I got my first missed call a few days later asking about a Ford, the car company, and some fusion. I politely said it was the wrong number, and as I was about to say goodbye, the guy on the other side of the line kept pressing me that he called the right number. It made me kind of angry, as I obviously knew who I was, so I assured him this is in fact a 12-year-old speaking, so no fusion business here. However, the phone calls didn't stop. I'd get 1 or 2 a day for like a week, all about the fusion. It was getting very annoying, but I kept politely explaining that this is, in fact, the wrong number. Until Saturday came. I love sleeping in on the weekends. I can be extremely cranky if someone messes with my sleep. Sure enough, about 7 a.m. on Saturday, the Ford guy or one of his associates calls me about the fusion. I had no doubt in my mind what I needed to do. "Hi there, this is Tom from so-and-so department. You know if the fusion already happened?" "Hi, Tom. Yes, I can absolutely confirm that it's happened." "Wow, that's big news. Do you know when?" "This week. Still very recent." "Thanks a lot for the info." "Yeah, you're more than welcome." So I hung up the phone and went back to sleeping. Never received another call. I sometimes still think of Tom, and I hope that I didn't bankrupt a company on false information. And our last story. Tow truck companies breaking into my house. I drive a 2016 Nissan GTR. It was towed yesterday from my driveway. A neighbor had my vehicle accidentally towed. She said a blue Nissan. The effing idiot tow driver ignored the illegally parked Altima and took my car. Anyway, for those who aren't car people, the GTR has a rather bespoke all-wheel drive system, and if not towed properly, it can cause damage to the drivetrain. I picked the car up, and the diff has been grenaded. Even worse, I called Nissan up, and they said if you tow a car improperly, you void the warranty. I'm now looking at a multi-$1,000 repair bill. I went to the tow company, and they told me to take it up with the HOA, as they're the ones who have contracted the towing company. The HOA has told me to go after the towing company. Update. I filed a claim and the car is being torn down and inspected. Things seem to be looking good, but they now suspect transmission damage as well, so I'm almost definitely selling it if they repair the car. As for where things get interesting, a day or two after this happened, I started getting written up by the HOA for random things like my grass being too tall, despite the fact that I pay the optional fee for it to be maintained, my house being the wrong color, despite the fact that it's been this color since I bought it, etc., etc. I asked around and the towing company responsible is owned by a member of the HOA board. How in the F is this legal? I have no idea. But yeah, ever since word got out that I might be suing the towing company, thank you gossiping neighbors, I've been facing complaint after complaint from the HOA. I'm seriously considering selling the house and moving. Update 2. There was an election held and the old members of the HOA were voted out and things had calmed down a fair bit. More on that later. The harassment and all that has stopped, thankfully. The car ended up needing a transmission among other things. Rather than get it repaired, I sold it to a guy who wanted to tear it down, turbo the hell out of it, and use it for drag racing. I ended up using the funds to put a down payment on a 911, so that turned out all right. As for things calming down, I recently got married. The wife and I went to the Caribbean for our honeymoon, and while we were gone, the guy who owned the tow truck company and his son broke into my house and trashed the place. Thankfully, we have security cameras that caught them breaking in, and they've been arrested and are awaiting trial, so that got way out of hand. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.